New York City is the city with a million things to do, but not everything is worth your time or your money. More often than not, guidebooks have been pointing people to the same played out attractions that are far removed from the authentic New York experiences that visitors and locals could be having instead. So, it is time to cut through the bullshit. Tourists, I'm about to change your whole itinerary. And as for you, New York locals watching this, let me know. Am I right or am I right? So let's get into it. Here are the New York City tourist traps that you can skip and what you should do instead. Skip the hot dog and pretzel carts for the halal carts. Not to knock the hustle of the people who run these carts, because I know the permits for them can be expensive, but hot dogs and pretzel carts are a thing of the past. You won't catch any New Yorkers buying food from there, but you will see locals line up down the block for some chicken over rice from the halal carts. So if you're a tourist and you see this line, get in it. You won't regret it. But if you must have a hot dog while you're here, get it from Grace Papaya or Papaya King or even Nathan's. Skip the view from the Empire State Building for the view from the top of the rock. The observation deck at the Empire State Building is a cool experience, but if I'm up that high and paying those outrageous observation deck prices, I want to actually see the Empire State Building and I want it in my photos. I don't care about getting a photo of, the Rockefeller Center buildings, but these days, the observation decks at the Edge and the Summit are all the rage, and they're cool, but they're pricey as hell. So if you're on a budget, stick with the top of the rock, or if you're willing to splurge, go to the Edge. Or if you're real cheap, skip all those buildings and go to a rooftop bar instead. Skip the chain restaurants in Times Square for restaurants anywhere else in New York. Like, anywhere else. Did you really come all this way to the culinary capital of the world to eat at an Olive Garden? I didn't think so. Literally go to any other New York City neighborhood and you will find something worthy of your taste buds. And if you don't know where to start, go to Grub Street or Eater NY or The Infatuation. They've got great restaurant recommendations. Really, I don't care where you go, but I better not catch you at a national restaurant chain. Skip 5 days straight in Manhattan for 1 day in each borough. Yes, there are a lot of things to do in Manhattan. You could honestly spend 5 full days in Manhattan and still not run out of things to do. But it really gets under my skin when people come to New York, spend a whole time in Manhattan, and think that they've seen everything in New York City. No, honey, you've only experienced a fifth of New York, if even. And spending a few hours in Dumbo after crossing the Brooklyn Bridge does not count as seeing the other boroughs. I get it. Time is limited and New York is very big, but please don't just spend all your time in Manhattan. Don't make the outer boroughs an afterthought. You know what? Let me know if you want me to do a blog post or a video on how you can meaningfully see each borough on a 5-day trip to New York. Skip Manhattan's Little Italy for the Bronx's Arthur Avenue. Once upon a time, the Little Italy in Lower Manhattan was the center of Italian immigrant life. But don't be fooled by the neighborhood's name. What's left of the Italian community has moved on to Arthur Avenue in the Bronx and to Staten Island. So you want to find a decent plate of pasta? Go over there. But if you do decide to go to Little Italy, be very selective about where you go to eat if you want Italian food. Or go during the Feast of San Gennaro in September. That's always a good time. Or take a Little Italy history tour because that area is full of immigrant history. Skip getting your photo taken with the characters at Times Square for getting your portrait drawn. Okay, I'm not going to knock someone else's hustle, but you don't want to pay $5 to take a selfie with a dude in a shoddy costume. In my opinion, your money would be better spent getting a goofy caricature of yourself from a sidewalk artist. That's a souvenir that you could frame and put on your mantle when you get back home. But that selfie that you took with Iron Man that you paid $5 for, that's just gonna stay on your phone and maybe get a few likes on Instagram. Skip the fancy pizzerias for dollar pizza. I know this may be a hot take, and I can concede that I may have had bad luck in the past with my past pizzeria dining experiences. But nearly every time I go to an upscale pizzeria, it's like I'm having glorified cheese on toast. On the other hand, dollar pizza has rarely let me down. It's filling and tasty and cheap, and if you're looking for the best quality dollar pizza, go to places that have locals constantly going in and out, especially around lunchtime. That's how you know you're at a good dollar pizza place. Skip cabs and rideshares for the subway. Alright, I am well aware of all the horrific news reports about things that have been happening in the subway lately. And it's horrible, but that shouldn't scare you from taking the subway. Like, as a person that takes the subway regularly, I can assure you that it's not that anarchic nightmare that the news paints it out to be. Yes, bad things do happen and you should be on alert. But you should be on alert in any big city that you're in, not just New York. And also, if we put on our rational thinking caps for a moment, millions of people take the subway per day and nothing happens to them. So it's most likely that when you ride the subway, nothing's gonna happen to you either. You might see something weird because this is New York, but I have a 95% belief that nothing dangerous is going to happen to you. Just stay alert. Anyway, back to the subway versus rideshares. If you're in Manhattan, take the subway, hands down. It's the most cost-effective method and probably the quickest. But if you're trying to get around the outer boroughs, it becomes more of a fair fight. While Manhattan is lavished in subway coverage, the 4 other boroughs didn't get nearly the same amount of love. And do not get me started on the abysmal bus system. So if you have the funds, I'd go with the rideshare. Skip shopping on Fifth Avenue for a more unique neighborhood. I'd choose shopping in Soho over Fifth Avenue because you can take in the pretty cast iron buildings while you're there, but if you want better, more unique stores, I'd skip them both for shopping in Williamsburg. Remember what I said about eating at chain restaurants in New York? Did you really come all this way to shop at the same stores that you'll find everywhere else? I didn't think so. So go to Williamsburg or the Upper East Side or Nolita for unique shopping. Skip the horse rides and pedicab rides through Central Park for biking in the park. Horse rides and pedicab rides have been billed as the classic thing to do for couples, but paying $5 a minute at minimum to be dragged around the park does not sound romantic to me. You'll have a much more memorable time exploring the park on a bike. And there are even companies that offer bike tours of the park, so hop on that instead. Skip bus tours for walking tours. The sights of New York are worth way more than 2 sentences during a drive-by. And these days, they don't even have a real tour guide on these bus tours. It's just a recording. So I think you're much better off, if you're able, to take a walking tour with a tour guide or download an audio walking tour app like Gesso. Skip Times Square in the daytime for Times Square at night. If you must go to the psychedelic ad fest that is Times Square, go at night so you can truly appreciate how bright it is there. And if you don't mind staying up late, be sure to get there at 11:57 p.m. for the midnight moment, where you'll witness an artistic surprise. So all the billboards will stop showing ads momentarily, and they'll start showing this digital art piece that changes every month. Skip the Chelsea Market for the Time Out Market in Dumbo or any other food hall. Don't get me wrong, Chelsea Market has good food, but it doesn't have a monopoly on good food. So if you don't want to deal with the long lines and the crowding, you have plenty of other options, like the Time Out Market that has rooftop views of Brooklyn and Manhattan bridges, or Turnstile Underground Market at Columbus Circle, or the New World Market food court in Queens, or my personal favorite, Decap Market Hall in City Point Mall in Brooklyn. See, you've got options. Skip the souvenir stores for things actually made in New York City. You can get t-shirts and tchotchkes with the New York name on it anywhere, but it's less common to come by products actually designed and manufactured in New York City. Earn some bragging rights of having an authentic New York item by shopping at one of the stores that you find on Made in NYC or at a cool local gift shop that's not in a touristy area. I hope this video has given you a better idea of what tourist traps to steer clear of when you're in New York and what's actually worth your time instead. And for the locals watching this, are there any other tourist traps you would tell a visitor to skip? But before you go, if you liked this video, then like this video and subscribe to this channel for more New York City history, culture, and things to do. Thanks for watching.